Horses with behavioral issues often get labeled as being bad. They might exhibit dangerous behaviors like kicking, biting, or maybe even bucking and rearing. Bad is defined as not pleasant or hoped for or desired, unwelcome. And I don't think horses get to that point without a reason. And today I want to explore what can give horses the connotation of being bad and how to fix it. I'm Julia, and you're watching the weekly show brought to you by the EC Network. Horses get labeled as bad when they are exhibiting undesirable behaviors in or out of the saddle. Calling a horse bad gives it a really negative connotation and can give the impression that a horse is doing something malicious on purpose, but that's simply not the case. As responsible horse people, we have to be willing to set emotion aside and look as to why a horse is behaving a particular way. Problem horses are typically created from either poor training or because of a physical issue. Neither of these mean that a horse is necessarily unfixable, but it may take some time and understanding that it is possible to retrain a horse that has developed bad behavior from human influence. We should always evaluate a horse for any physical discomfort before you start any sort of training with them. As people, we don't perform well when we aren't feeling well or if something's uncomfortable, and we shouldn't expect the same from our horses. Having a trusted equine vet do an exam is always a great idea. You can check their teeth for any sharp edges, make sure their feet are comfortable, and make sure that your saddle fits properly. Those are just some great examples of where you can start. But today I'd like to share with you the story of my very first horse, George. I got George when I was pretty young, and he was basically straight off the track. He was pretty level-headed, but he definitely had some of his quirks. George actually injured his leg and had a pretty deep cut on his right hock, and it ended up growing some scar tissue. But after it healed, it just seemed like he could never get the right lead. And I got really frustrated at him and myself for not being able to get that lead. But we did a ton of exercises to get the lead over a pole, just did more canter work in general to get him more fit and using those muscles. And Hawk eventually healed, and he was eventually able to get the right lead on a consistent basis. Now, George wasn't pulling the wrong lead to be bad. He just had a physical reason why he couldn't do what I was asking him to do. Another example is a friend of mine who had a very reactive mare. She wouldn't stand still at the mounting block, but if you did manage to get on her, she would buck hard. After saddle fit was addressed and the vet evaluated her, it was actually identified that she had pretty severe kissing spines, and that was the source of her discomfort. Unfortunately for this mare, there wasn't a way to keep her comfortable for riding, but having this knowledge let my friend know that she probably shouldn't continue to do any sort of training for riding with that horse because she was never going to be fully comfortable or safe. I think you'll find that this is actually the fix for most bad horses. Eliminate any physical problems they might be having, and you'll find the behavior goes away without any retraining. I highly recommend watching my video on how horses learn to understand how you can problem solve any training issue that you encounter with your horse. In that video, I'll go really deep into how horse training actually works. If your horse has ever been labeled a bad or problem horse, I want you to tell me about it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons below to make sure you never miss another video.